India's ascent on the global stage has claimed another victory after its stock market overtook Germany to become the seventh largest in the world. India edged past the equity market of Europe's largest economy for the first time in 7 years, according to data compiled by the Bloomberg. That means after UK leaves the European Union in March, the bloc would have only one country, France, among the 7 biggest markets. The move reflects India's positive return this year as the company's reliance on domestic demand enabled them to avoid the meltdown in other emerging markets spurred by the Federal Reserve tightening and a trade war between the US and China. It also highlights the challenges facing the European Union, including its future relationship with the UK, a standoff with Italy, or the budget allocations and separatist clashes in Spain. While the MSCI Emerging Markets Index is heading for a 17% decline this year, India's benchmark S&P BSE Sensex is up 5% after seesawing throughout the year amid the oil price volatility. In the year dominated by the trade protectionism and punitive tariff by the Donald Trump's President of the United States administration on China, it's little bit wonder that investors have turned cautious over countries with heavy dependence on the exports. Germany derives more than 38% of its gross domestic product from exports based on 2017 data from the World Bank. The corresponding ratio for India is only 11%, meaning much of the stock market opportunity in the country comes from the domestic consumer stories. Reliance on the local demand and entrepreneurship also puts India ahead in growth sweepstakes. The South Asian nation is projected to grow 7.4% this year and 7.3% in 2019, as a far cry from German growth of 1.6% for each year, while 7.5% and the 7.3% coming in next year is basically less than before and before decades and before 2 to 3 years while Modi became the Prime Minister of India. So what do you think of India's growth? Is much higher than other countries, but it's basically lower than India's original GDP when Prime Minister Modi took over the government from other Congress party. President Xi Jinping of China warned on Tuesday that no one can dictate China's economic development path as the country's Communist Party marked 40 years of its historic reform and opening up new policies amid a strained challenge from the United States. In a speech at the grandiose Great Hall of People, Xi Jinping owed to the press that Beijing will not deviate from its one-party system or take orders from any other country. The great banner of socialism has always been flying high over the Chinese land, said Xi Jinping. The leaders of the Communist Party of China is the most essential feature of the socialism with Chinese characteristics and the great advantage of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics. Making reforms enact under the late paramount leader Deng Xiaoping on December 18, 1978, came as the Chinese is locked in a diplomatic spat and a bruising trade war with the United States. The rivals have agreed to 90-day truce as they seek to negotiate a solution, with the United States seeking a reduction in its massive trade deficit as well as a deeper reforms in China to stop the alleged theft of intellectual property. Without directly referring to the United States, Xi Jinping said that China poses no threat to any country but warned that it would not be pushed around. No one is in a position to dictate to Chinese people what should or should not be done. While Xi Jinping promised more reforms, he did not offer any specifics. The United States and Europe have long complained of lingering obstacles to fully entering into Chinese massive market, while the Chinese companies enjoy the benefit of open Western economics abroad. The reform pulled hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and turned China into the world's second biggest economy. But it is currently facing a debt mountain and slowing economy, which grew by 6.9% later this year and is expected by the government to slow to around 6.5% this year. Deng's reform broke with the chaotic policies of his predecessor, Chairman Mao Zedong. Tuesday's ceremony included the awarding of the medals to more than 100 individuals whom the party recognized as a key contributor to the country's development, from people involved in the rural reforms and poverty alleviations to China's richest man Alibaba founder Jack Ma and retired NBA legend Yao Ming. China now boasts the most dollar billionaires in the world with 620. I think China now in a state capitalism under one-party dictatorship or party-run capitalism, he said. Beijing-based political analyst Wu Qing told an AFP. Wu said that the trade war could be a chance for China to enact more changes. If the Communist Party is smart enough, it may transform it into a starting point of a second reform and opening up and change the role of a party and the state. When the party enacted the reform under Deng, China was still suffering from famine and was emerging from the cultural revolutions, a period of intense social and political upheaval launched by Mao. This new revolution started in the countryside, where the authorities began to decultivate land and dismantle communes, but it quickly spread to the cities. Very often opposing power based in economically powerful Shanghai, Deng chose the extreme south of the country as a guinea pig for its reforms. The southern cities, including Shenzhen, which border Hong Kong and was still a fishing village, were designated China's first special economic zone that became the powerhouse and model for the test of the country. Shenzhen has become a global technological hub, with China's internet giant Tencent and telecom titans like Huawei choosing the city for their headquarters. The poverty rate among the rural population dropped to 3.1% last year from 97.5% before 40 years. So what do you think of China's President Xi Jinping himself warning no one can dictate China to say whatever they have to do or not to do, straightly or directly saying to the United States? As India is moving US to the backseat, as India becomes the fastest growing country in last 5 years. In Geneva, India's air connectivity has grown the fastest in the last 5 years, and there is a strong strength and growth ahead in terms of domestic passenger numbers, though there are infrastructure challenges according to the global airlines body IATA, or the International Airport Transport Association. India is the fastest growing domestic aviation market in the world, and IATA's chief economist Brian Pierce said. The country registered double-digit growth in domestic aviation market for 50th consecutive month in October. An analysis by the International Airport Transport Association, or the IATA, showed that the air connectivity grew the fastest in 114% in the 5-year period from 2013 to 18. Many of the markets where connectivity has grown fastest, unsurprisingly, are in the Asia, India, China, and Indonesia, the grouping said in the presentation during the Global Media Day here in Geneva. As per the IATA, which is a grouping of around 290 airlines, connectivity is the extent to which a country is integrated into the global airport and transport network. In recent years, many foreign as well as the Indian carriers have commenced flight to and from various Indian cities. About domestic passenger growth, Pierce told that there is a strong growth ahead, but the challenges with infrastructure is that the airports are crowded. We needed more terminals and runway capacity. We have seen concessions for many airports leading to large rise in airport charges. On steps being taken in India to address the infrastructure issues, he said additionally capacity is being put in place and some very good modern airports being built, which is a real positive in 2005 to 2014. I think that the cost of using those airports is high. The peer said it is because the economic regulations have not been strong as we would have hoped, because the concession agreements were made with very large royalties. The lessons for the future is to be provide good infrastructures because more is needed but at an affordable rate, he noted. IATA's director Hemant Mistry said the historical airport concessions have suffered from unduly long and arbitrary concession lengths. These can be for benefit of governments and the concessionary. We have seen many examples of very high concession fees where a large proportion of gross revenue of the airport is diverted to the government and not necessarily reinvested back into the aviation. According to him, there are also examples where concessions are negotiated with fixed pricing over the concession term, which risk a situation where the charges are not reflective of the service and infrastructure provided to the airlines and passengers. So what do you think of India pushing back US and China and becoming the fastest growing connectivity in airline services in the world? Please give a thumbs up and follow us on social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WEC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.